Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. Today we have another clock to work on, and I do believe they call this the Curfew clock. All I know is I like the brass bell it's got on it, and the clock has nice style too. Let me show you what this clock looks like. So this is a clock, and when I have it level, it runs fine. So the only thing I plan on doing is taking the movement out, and that way I can oil both sides of the movement. But it's got this nice brass bell up here, and if you're not into bells, the high-pitched sound of them, I wouldn't get one, but just the same, here we go. I'd say I was off on the hands. So there you go, kind of a unique clock. Obviously this here, all the brass needs to be cleaned up. It does have a little scroll in here that needs to be brightened back up again, and it has the look of marble. Let me show you the backside, or the movement of this clock. So this is the movement of this clock. It pretty much looks nice and clean in here. Like I said, I want to re-oil it. I can see right here there's some soldering done for some reason. While I have it out, I'll probably give it a quick look. But otherwise, like I say, that looks good. And this part here is what I want to shine up. I've seen them where they've had these things all shiny, looking like brass, like it should, and it's really tarnished. And to be able to take this movement out anyway, it'd probably be easier if I went ahead and unscrewed this and taken it off, so the hammer, I can see how it coming through the top is what it is. So by the looks of it, we have 2 screws here and 2 on the other side, and they're actually fairly loose. So I don't know if this clock got banged around or anything, or just nobody ever paid attention to it as the clock possibly dried out. So let me get the other 2 screws out on the other side. It's got some drips of something, maybe it's a cleaner on there. But it looks like it's all brass, so all this should shine up, hopefully, the way I think it should. But that's our number 1 thing. The number 2 thing is, like I say, I'd like to take the movement out, and I'd also like to clean this case up the best I can. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and clean the bell. So I have a crescent wrench on here to loosen it up. I'm sure you can use a socket on it also. This is very hard to see down in there. I can't tell what that is because it's come loose enough, but not enough to get this off. So after I got a brighter light in there, that's more of a spot, I was able to look inside here, and there's a screw flathead that I could hold on to and unscrew my top piece, which also comes with this piece here. So you can see where they've tried cleaning it and where it is impossible to clean, just filthy. And that looks like it's all brass. So I'm going to go with this first. I'm going to take these in and clean them with Dawn dishwashing soap and a toothbrush and see how they turn out. But this is a good time for me to experiment with this mag and aluminum polish by Mothers. It's been going around. My friend Mark, he has another friend that cleans every gear with this stuff and they just shine. I don't necessarily take that much time. I clean the plates usually, but I'm not as worried about the gears and whatnot. But when you're working on a clock, you do it makes you feel good. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and try this on half of the bell. And let me dig in here again. I have this polish I use. This is expensive, but it does the job, and we're going to see if they're both the same as in cleaning, because this here is only about, let's just say $6 at Walmart, or I'm sure you can get it at an auto parts store too. And hopefully our brass is just going to shine, especially this here shine like a mirror. Well, this is still wet, but it actually shined up just cleaning it, but it does have the marks in it still. This here, I only cleaned this one half. Or I should say this half. I'm not sure on this of what's covering any of this, but I have a feeling this is just pot metal. And seeing other people's clocks, I'm almost wondering if this doesn't come cleaned properly, let's just say to be nice and shiny, that this will probably get spray painted gold. But for now, I'm going to work on the bell. I'm going to do one half, like I say, with the Mothers, and see just how easy it is to use on this. Well, so far I'm not thrilled, but it could be that this bell has a clear coat on it. But you can see where there's parts where it really shined it up nice. And I held it like this so you can see what the other side looks like with nothing done to it. So even though that's a big improvement, now I'm going to go ahead and use my other product and see what I think. This here, I spend a bunch of time. I don't even think I spent 5 minutes doing this side. So let me just hold it this way and do this side. So I spent even less time on this side. I noticed the top is stripping a little bit now. And the reason why I didn't spend it that much more time, I'm sure this has got a finish on it. So I'm going to put it in my clock cleaner to see if I can strip that off of there. But you can kind of see what that looks like, which is still a little bit dull compared to the Mother's side. And of course, I was holding it so I wouldn't clean beyond. And so let me run it through the cleaner, and then I'll be back after I get that stripped off, I guess. So this is what it looks like after I ran it through the cleaner. I'm not sure if it all came off. It looks a little strange. But I'm going to go ahead and try the polish on here again. So this is using Mothers and these darker spots, or what do you want to call it. The finish is still on there, but otherwise where the finish is off, Mothers has done a fantastic job. But I'm going to do this side now, which there's not much, the finish is still on there. But I'm going to use this. Otherwise I might have to soak it overnight, trying to get that varnish off. You see the varnish is still on there in spots. And you work this long enough, you'll eventually cut through it. Now the secret, it's not so important when you're using the compound, either one, to change whatever you're using when it turns black. I mean, it might help, but it's not a big deal. Now when it's coming to wipe this stuff off, wipe it off, but you're going to have to keep changing this over, because when it's black, it'll keep smearing that black in there. You got to get a new spot. So this is this. So they both do, and you can see where it didn't get done at all. They both do very well, but this is a heck of a lot cheaper. When I get this finished, I'll show you. And I'll probably finish up with this one here. So this here, I brushed a little bit with the rag and the polish, and this brass color or gold color, whatever, is just a thin, I'm going to call it paint plate or something, because you'll break through to the cast, the pot metal, real easy. And so I didn't really deal with doing it anymore. So what I plan on doing, I'm going to stick some Howard's wax on a rag, as I've done it before, and it gives it that wet look. It doesn't make the metal any healthier or anything else. It's just that it doesn't have this old dried out look where you think, well, maybe I should spray paint this because it looks like heck. So let me do this and we'll take a look at it. This half I did not do. This I did do. The reason why I'm using this wax is because it's a liquid, unless it's freezing cold outside, and it gives it the wet look into where you can't necessarily get the dust worked out with a toothbrush and Dawn dish soap or something. And so that's why I like using it. So I'll go ahead and get this other half done now. So there it is, all shined up. Of course, you're looking at the back side of it, and I just set it on there because, like I say, I want to take care of cleaning the box of the clock, and I also want to re-lube the movement. And on that louder bell, I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but the leather that goes inside the hammer, it's missing. So I gotta order some of that. Don't know when it's going to be here. If it'll be here before I get done at the clock, I don't know, but it shouldn't be that loud, I guess. So now's the time, and by the way, I need to wipe this down because it was a wood preservative wax, but it makes it have the wet look. I let it soak into the metal as much as it wants to, or wanted to, and I just need to wipe it down so it doesn't feel so oily, I guess we'll call it. But oh man, that bell turned out nice. So this has been ticking along. Like I say, it's working fantastic. It didn't come with the pendulum, so I put this bob on there, and it's doing great. Don't know about the speed or anything because I wasn't testing that. I was just testing to see if it even ran. So now my next step would be to take the pin out and take the hands off, and I'm going to go ahead and take the dial and door off. The door looks like someone soldered it on there and they didn't do a very good job. I mean, it's on there, but it doesn't open up enough. Maybe that's just the way it is. But let me take this off, and then we're going to take the movement out. I have a feeling this is not a taper pin, it's a brass nail possibly. Because as far as I got it out so far, it should just pop right out of there. It's the same coming out all the way. What you have to do when you don't have a bunch of clock parts, I guess. Yeah, it's just a brass nail. And then we have the couple of washers on here. Let me get a smaller screwdriver. It should just come right off, but they're a little bit tight. I guess it's just one square washer on there. And these hands I'm going to straighten up a little bit. I don't want them straight across because this ring here, it'll be hitting that, and this is indented in. And so that's why you want them up a little bit. And I guess that's kind of cool having that because it keeps the hands from rubbing on the dial and discoloring it. Of course, that's pressure fitted on there. And now let me take out the 1, 2, 3 screws, and I'll be right back. This paper might have been changed because that hole there is kind of wallered out looking, which isn't a problem. I mean, it still looks old, but it's clear. You can see it. WML Gilbert Clock Company. So now I'm going to go ahead and tilt it on its face, take the 4 screws out so we can take that movement out and oil it. Like I say, this looks very clean. It's got a little bit of residue on here, but like I say, it really looks clean. So I'm going to go ahead and just oil this clock, because there's no sense in taking it apart when it's that clean. And there's a chance maybe I don't need to oil it, but I don't know the history of this clock. And oiling it should, let's just say, maybe guarantee me another 7 or so years before I need to oil this clock again. And check out to make sure all the pivots and whatnot are still doing what they need to do. Now you can see here someone soldered there. I don't know why. I think they're soldering something on here and then it was taken off because it goes to nothing. And right here there's a little bit of, looks like solder, or it could have been some kind of tarnish. So I don't know what was up with this clock at one time, but they must have felt the need to have that done. Now on this winder I can tell it might be able to move around because it looks like it's loose right there. But let me see pushing it. Yeah. So realistically, it could use a bushing in there. So far the rest of them all look good to me. And the clock does run really nice, so for what I could tell so far. That moves around a little bit. What's that go to? Oh, nothing special, just a lever. Doesn't like to run unless it has weight on there. So what I'd like to do also is check out this. This clock did come with a key in here. So it does fit there. And it kind of fits here for the speed. I want to see if this thing really works. It actually works. So we'll be adjusting that. This here key actually needs to have a smaller end on to fit because it does slip, but you push on far enough it does kind of work. So we got this oiled. Now I'm going to clean the case. Here, hopefully I can get the camera to get close enough. You can see the finish is crazed, I guess we'll call it. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Normally I might take some steel wool across it or whatever, but I'm not going to do it on this one. I'm just going to clean this clock up and then I'm going to wax it. And we might go ahead and address all these curly cues and whatnot if my pen starts working again, so I can brighten them up and make them at least white again. This is the pen I'm going to use. It's oil based. They do have enamel. That's twice the price. I don't like this one. It's not the fine tip I thought it was supposed to be. That looks messy. Let's take a paper towel and wipe it down with some I'll show you. So this is what I got so far, and I tried, because it doesn't have a fine point like I thought it was supposed to, and so it looks like a kindergartner did it. And what I plan on doing, I was wiping it down, let's say right away, with denatured alcohol, and it was just kind of taking this old finish off and smearing it in. So what I'm doing now is letting it dry, and I'm going to take steel wool over this, and hopefully the low spots where it was carved and the dots and whatnot, hopefully that'll stay, and this will actually maybe shine up a little bit. It is better than what it was, and I plan on waxing this clock now with Howard's wax and see how I feel about this. But I will admit, if you're going to get one of these oil pins, oil-based pins, to look for the one that has the fine point on it. I have another one, and normally you need to keep using these things until, because they're going to go bad on you, but for the price, possibly, who cares, as long as you can get this to stand out. But the fine point is what you want. This one wasn't a fine point, and it just kind of made a mess of it, so I couldn't even follow inside the lines. But now it's wider than what it was, so let's see how well Howard's wax goes on here and looks. So I got it waxed, let it set for a few hours, and I went ahead and wiped it down. It wasn't bad at all. It still soaked through the paint, but not totally. And normally I let it set overnight. So what I plan on doing now is putting the movement into the box. So this William Gilbert Curfew clock is looking a lot better than what it did when I first got it. I'm happy with it. I'm going to have to get that leather strip to put inside the hammer, so it'll be a little bit of a softer bell, but it is nice, especially if you don't have any of the clocks that have that nice bell sound compared to gong cuckoo or a Westminster. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. I hope you appreciate this video. Don't forget to subscribe because it's free. And until next time, God bless.